Welcome back. Another Keeping 'em Honest report about a bill that recently died in California's legislature. This is probably going to make you mad, and we should say up front, this story contains some adult subject matter that's disturbing. So if there are little kids in the room, you might want to have them leave for just 2 or 3 minutes. The bill was designed to make it much easier for public schools to fire teachers who commit sexual, physically abusive, or drug-related acts with their students. It sounds pretty non-controversial, right? The fact is, it is incredibly hard to immediately fire public school teachers in California, even if they are charged with completely despicable crimes against students. Now, the bill's sponsor wanted to change that. Key legislators derailed his plans. Keeping them honest, the question is, did money from the state's powerful education unions influence their actions? Here's CNN's Kyung La.
Good morning. Hi. In the halls of the California State Capitol, Assemblymember Wilmer Amina Carter is not in the mood to talk. I just wanted to chat with you about Senate Bill 1530. She wouldn't stop to answer a single question. Why is that? As silent here as she was when faced with legislation aimed at protecting sexually abused children. Can you just give me a reason why you chose not to vote on that bill?
I have no comments on that bill.
None at all?
No.
But a voice in California's capital is what parents were demanding. This is Miramonte Elementary School in Los Angeles, where prosecutors say teacher Mark Berndt blindfolded children as young as 7, placed roaches on their faces, taking pictures as he dangled spoons filled with his semen near their mouths, and forced them to eat cookies laced with his bodily fluids. Berndt pled not guilty to charges and faces trial next year. As disgusting, as horrific those alleged acts are, they are only the beginning of the outrage. Despite the charges against Mark Berndt for what police say he did to his students, the school district couldn't simply fire him. That's because in California, the process to fire a teacher, even one accused of a child sex crime, can take years. So what could the school district do with Berndt? They could have suspended him with pay pending a hearing, but instead, they chose to pay him to resign. They paid him $40,000, right?
$40,000 simply to retire.
California State Senator Alex Padilla says that sent a signal that the system was broken. So we drafted a new bill that would allow a faster way for schools to fire teachers accused of the most heinous crimes against children.
We're very specific to these serious and egregious crimes. Sex, drugs, or violence involving students. I mean, these, to me, are no-brainers.
It looked like a shoo-in. It sailed through the Senate with overwhelming bipartisan support. Its next stop, the State Assembly. And there, it died. Not just by lawmakers voting no, but lawmakers who chose to stay silent. They chose to not vote at all.
Is there a motion on the bill?
This is the Assembly Education Committee earlier this year. There are 11 members.
Carter not voting. Ng?
Not voting.
4 key members of Padilla's own party, chose not to vote at all, which in California is as good as saying no. Their silence helped kill the bill that fell one single vote short of being sent to the full state assembly. Why would they stay silent?
Out of fear and intimidation that these campaign dollars will no longer flow their way.
It comes down to cash. Campaign contributions from special interest groups, charges former state Senator Gloria Romero. She knows a thing or two about it. She's a former head of this very committee and now an education reformer. Not voting, she says, is political Teflon. They don't look bad to their constituents, and the money from the powerful education unions keep flowing.
They voted no because they were tied to the hip with power and money, thinking that nobody would ever find out about an abstain vote. Well, we found out, and we're outraged.
But is it simply about the money?
Here are all the lawmakers on the committee.
Dan Newman is the president and co-founder of MapLight, a nonprofit, nonpartisan research group dedicated at looking at money's influence on politics. We looked at overall campaign contributions from teachers' unions to the committee members from January 2009 to May 2012.
You can see how the money correlates with the vote.
With the exception of the committee chair, the numbers reveal a pattern. All those voting no or not voting received much more money over the years from education unions than those who voted yes.
I don't know what's in the lawmaker's head, but I do know that on average, it's striking that lawmakers received more money from the teachers union in this case, tended to vote more often with that union. And what that correlation shows is that the money is having an influence.
We also don't know what's in the lawmakers' heads. Hi there. We got no response when we asked for sit-down interviews with the 4 who were silent. So We went to Sacramento to see them.
Can you actually take the camera out?
Kicked out of one office after another, staffers saying their bosses couldn't talk.
Excuse me.
And when Assemblymember Carter wouldn't answer our questions in the hall, anything to say about that?
No comment.
We followed all of them to the assembly floor, where rules state interviews may be granted if you send a note.
Can we first ask Assemblymember Carter?
Assemblymember Carter, who, according to MapLight, received more than $7,000 from teachers' unions since 2009, ignored the note.
Assemblymember Ng.
Assemblymember Mike Eng, who received $18,000 from teachers' unions since 2009, barely glanced at the request.
Assemblymember Butler.
Member Betsy Butler, who, according to MapLight, received more than $11,000 from teachers' unions since 2009, visibly reacted to my note, but still ignored the interview request.
Assemblymember Williams.
Only Assemblymember Das Williams, who received nearly $30,000 in campaign contributions from teachers' unions, walked right over.
I thought the bill was too much of an overreach.
An overreach, but he wouldn't elaborate what that means, nor would he talk about his decision to not vote because he said the assembly was in session. This is the underbelly of how government works, say critics. And lost, they say, are the people who these members are supposed to represent.
Children in a classroom where their teacher has been accused of feeding them semen, these legislators just threw the kids to the wind and basically said, you know, we don't even want to think about you.
King, that assembly member that you actually took floor, he reached out to you after the session. What did he tell you?
He gave me a phone call, and he said basically he used that word overreach, Anderson. And what he's trying to say is that he felt that the bill just simply did too much, that there's a process in place. And he says it wasn't the campaign dollars doing the talking when he wasn't talking. He actually says if there is a new bill drafted with Senator Padilla, something he's hoping to do, that perhaps there's a new version of the bill he might support.
It's interesting, though, that they don't vote no, they just abstain, which has the same effect, but it sort of, as you say, protects them from blowback from it. What do the teachers' unions in California have to say about it this week?
Yeah, the California Teachers Union, perhaps one of the most powerful groups here in California because they have one of the largest war chests. They have so many members and so many contributing dollars. What the CTA is basically saying is that there is a due process in place, that it simply does work. Yes, there are certainly bad examples, but they feel that overall the teaching process, the process there in place for these teachers, that should not be interfered with. And they say campaign contributions, no, they're not going to talk that way.
Pretty, I think, for taxpayers to realize they paid $40,000 to get rid of that teacher accused of really the most abhorrent kind of behavior to students is pretty shocking. Kingo, I appreciate the report. Really interesting reporting. We have breaking news next. The latest in the path of Tropical Storm Isaac. Storm heading